And good evening, our fellow lovers of love. And thank you for joining us on this excursion through the seas of piracy. No, sorry, that was funny. Well, it was funny to me anyway. It's the eye patch. The eyes are bothering me today, so I put the eye patch on so everything's a little bit clearer. It just makes my life a little bit easier, and it makes me look a little funny. So hey, it's everybody gets a little bit of a laugh out of it. We're all having a good time. I don't bother looking goofy. That's fine. I'm used to it. I've always looked goofy my whole life.
Your hair still looks good.
But I do want to thank you all for joining us on this excursion through the stream of consciousness, through the river of tranquility, and on towards the lake of love, especially at this time of year. This is the holiday season. Many of us have had times with friends and family. We've gotten to appreciate all of the last year, and then this week a lot of us are looking. It's that week of reflection that I call it, as we are entering the week of reflection, which is then followed by kind of a lot of people New Year's resolutions, or you transfer from the reflection to forward thinking. And so I want to remind our guests, for those of us, or to tell you the first time, depending upon which of these podcasts I get edited and put out first, the cleaned up version of last night's technical disaster. Or I suspect this one will get done first, because there's a lot of editing to do to make that last one presentable. But there's some good stuff in there, so I'll put it up. But I have to figure out, clean up the gobbledygook. But anyway, we have Max Gutman on next week, and we and you have to decide: do we want to do our show on New Year's Eve, or do we want to do it at our regular time?
Okay, we'll have to talk about that.
We have to make that decision. And so we'll talk about, new beginnings, transitions, new beginnings next week. This week, we've got Boxing Day on the schedule. What is it? What's it done, where it comes from, and kind of the mythology surrounding it, because no one exactly knows why it's called Boxing Day.
Well, I'm going to clear that up.
Well, they still don't know. It's the assumption that, it's kind of the working theory. There is no hard facts about which day is why it's called Boxing Day. The common theory is actually just that. It's just a theory.
Okay.
Well, you go back, 1871, even before that. So you go back into the mid-1800s, history of things start to get wonky.
Well, in my research, I found that the origins started with the church. It was the day after Christmas. They would give the alms to the poor.
Yeah, the working theory is, at least in England, is that that's the day you would box up gifts for the servants and send the servants home with gifts.
That was later, yes.
Yeah. So it still is the same theory. You give it to the less fortunate.
Because the servants would be working on Christmas Day for the families. And so they would have the day after Christmas to go celebrate their family, and they would receive boxes of food and gifts from their employers. And so it's a public holiday in many Western countries, Canada, United Kingdom, many European countries, Australia and New Zealand. And let's see, it's celebrated as a bank holiday. Let's see, when did it become an official day off? I don't know.
It was like 1871, at least in England. I think it was in England when it became an official bank holiday.
And apparently now, what happens is it's become a big shopping day.
Yeah. Well, what is it? And Yugoslavia or someplace it's treated like, in Eastern Europe, I guess it's treated more like a second Christmas. One Christmas is for a family, the second Christmas is for friends, I think, if my
Yes,
surface understanding as it is.
that's the second item in this article. Your It's reserved for meeting up with family and with friends and family members you did not meet on Christmas Day.
Yeah, and it always makes me think about the people who don't have close friends and family during this time of year. As we all sit here and discuss about meeting with friends and family and sharing our love, and it makes me personally think about those who don't have those connections, whether it's blood relatives or people who are close enough to you to find families. Yeah. So it's this time of year where I always actually think of foster kids. I think about foster kids a lot this time of year. It's it's the flip side of me being grateful for all the family and connections and togetherness we have. You know, you think about people that don't have that. And Christmas is a rough period of time for some people. And I suppose many of these traditions are, maybe it's a good way to get past those winter blues. Those post Christmas blues, the winter blues, because we just passed the winter solstice, so we're halfway through winter. And so if you're someone who's prone to winter blues, you're hitting the depths of that right about now. Yeah. And I think we've got a little bit of a discussion about that here coming up as well. But, it's curious about how these things can tie together, how these kind of traditions can sometimes tie together. Why do you come together as friends and family in the middle of winter? Despite all the trouble, trudging through snow and all that kind of thing, but yet you still do it. Maybe we do that is a cultural way that we've to fight those winter blues. It's a way to kind of fend them off a little bit, get some rejuvenation for the next 6 weeks, 2 months of cold. Help get us through that. And because it's been so long, we forget. A lot of these traditions, we actually forget why they exist, why they actually started, and become something different over time. The why we did it is no longer important. It's just that we do it. Why do we bring a tree inside the house? Why did that start? Why'd you go out, cut down a tree, decorate it, and then well, if you think about it, in about a month, you're going to need some wood. And so it's a way to have some decoration in your house for a couple of weeks while the tree dries out so you can chop it up and use it for firewood later for heat and cooking. These things may start from a much more practical, and I'm not saying that's where it starts because I don't know any more than anybody else, right? But I can see how that would start, and then how you've got this wood sitting in your house drying because it's the only place you can, or in your cave or your hut or whatever it is, drying out because you won't dry out outside in the snow. And so you bring it inside. Well, if you're going to bring it inside, let's at least make it look pretty. It's like those people who put those pretty covers over their vacuum cleaners, right? If you can't put it in the closet, they get those cat covers or whatever, right? So it looks like this big, goofy, 3-foot tall cat, right? It's just a way to make something that looks.
I like the bunny.
But the point is, it's just something to dress it up a little bit, make it a little less, obnoxious. A vacuum cleaner sitting out in the open is kind of obnoxious, visually obnoxious. You can ignore a goofy looking bunny, It's easier to ignore kind of a decorative bunny. So, there might be practical reasons we do some of these traditions. We get together, ebb and flows, and all of these good things. All right.
Okay, there's a couple more on here.
Yes.
Apparently nowadays it's Boxing Day. Sporting events is good. It's big. It's huge. Going fox hunting. St. Stephen's Day for the Catholics. Okay, and I did in my reading it. Polar bear swim is also big. Go jump in some ice water in a river.
Well, what's interesting is a lot of these things. There's you go out and you kind of interact with other human beings. It's a strange thing. It's almost all these things is that you some way you go out and you interact with your community, and you just wonder how much of that is, you know, helps cure the winter blues right before you go hole yourself back up, to get through the rest of winter. You just wonder how much of that is. I do. I don't know if anybody else does. That's how my brain works. You just wonder where it actually comes from. Yeah, where the basics. Not the reason we do it now, but the reason they existed to begin with, and then the meaning has morphed. Just curiosity. My historical brain. All right. So what we got left? Anything on there? Anything on Boxing Day else you got left to cover?
Not that I know. I'd love to hear from people how their Boxing Day went. Hope you had a great one.
Yeah, we don't understand Boxing Day here in the United States. It's not a thing here. We don't do Boxing Day. So
No, we just call it the day after Christmas, and we don't get out of our pajamas, and we just graze all day. We don't cook.
yeah, and some people who go out shopping because you can get some good after Christmas sales. That's about it. Now, depending upon when the day falls, if it happens to fall on a weekend, people will go do some sporting events and things like that. They might, take that long weekend, Christmas weekend, to do something else. But we don't celebrate Boxing Day. It's a completely different thing here in the United States. So, for anybody out there, you can contact us at love@latenightLove.us and let us know. Or you can send us a voice message over at Anchor FM/Late Night Love. All right. So I got 10 ways to beat the Christmas blues. And I had a problem with one of these until I actually read it more carefully. And so we're going to have to talk about that because the way they write it, I seem to need to forget. If you go down to their number, what is it on their list? It says, "Don't be sad." Except if you notice, sad is all capital letters.
Yeah.
It's light therapy.
Okay.
It's try light therapy.
You and your eyes.
Yeah. No, that wasn't eyes. That was just poor comprehension skills on that. They were being a little clickbaity on the headline, and I only was skimming the thing, and I missed I probably skipped the line. Maybe it is my eyes. I probably skipped the line that talked about light therapy, or it was covered up because of the thing I used. Anyway, regardless, when I read it again before the show, I caught it that it was light therapy. So at least I caught it before I made a donkey of myself live on the air. That was nice.
Very good, huh?
See, extra research, going back and redoing the research paid off. I was ready to be mad. What the hell? How the hell could you say "don't be sad" to somebody who's
depression?
It's period depression. I'm going to give you a swirly. What the hell is that? I was ready to be all righteously angry, and then all right, never mind. So,
oh, okay.
They don't actually mean sad. They mean don't be light deficient. And there's special goggles you can wear that put light in your eyes. You can also do other things like use daylight light bulbs. It might help a little bit. The modern LEDs that you can mimic daylights, almost like grow lights.
Oh, okay.
And it mimics the daylight, at least for your eyes. It doesn't mimic Doesn't mimic your vitamin D creation, but it will mimic it for your eyes. So, I don't know if it's as effective as a controlled thing with a headlamp type thing, because you can kind of really control the dosage and whatnot with that. But it doesn't hurt to try, right? If you can't afford that thing, or if you're just, it doesn't hurt to try. Put in some daylight light bulb. See if it helps. All right, so what else you got on that list?
Make a plan. Okay, you go after the excitement of Christmas. Okay, we go back to our routine. So they suggest making some plans, a night out, something to look forward to, or a trip.
Well, that's one of those things that's easy to say, but if you're kind of suffering from winter depressions, you don't want to make plans. It's kind of the whole motivation, lack of motivation is the problem. So now, if you're going to do it, I suppose, make plans in advance. Make plans back in October and be prepared. September,
Yes.
October, make plans previously. Make plans now for next year. Something like that. Because if you're already in the depths of your winter depression, finding the motivation to make plans and follow through on them is going to be difficult. So you want to make the plans earlier. And so you're kind of motivated to follow through. Yeah. And maybe involve somebody else that you don't want to disappoint. And so you've got a little bit of extra motivation to follow through. And once you get doing it, once you're moving, it's kind of easier to move through depression once you're moving. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't say it was easy. We all know it's not freaking easy. Getting through the winter blues is not easy. We're not going to fool anybody. It actually, in a strange way, it takes more energy than you feel you have. But the truth is, you have more energy than you think you do. If it's just winter blues. But you kind of have to force yourself to. And you know how to trick yourself. You know what you can set up 3 months in advance that you will follow through on. You know the kind of thing to do. So, yeah, it's okay to trick yourself for your own benefit. It's perfectly fine.
Yes.
You can do that.
This one, I don't know about this one.
All right.
Exercise your funny bone.
Yes.
Watch funny movies, books, go to a show.
Yes, because I've been watching charisma videos, leadership videos, and that kind of thing as part of my continual leadership improvement for all the work I do, all the various kind of works I do. It doesn't hurt, right? And one of the things they actually say is laughter is as much of a skill as anything else. You can actually practice laughing. You can practice becoming more prone to laughter. And the more you become prone to laughter, the easier to drop to laughter. And so it's an exercisable skill like anything else. But starting it in the depths of depression, in the depths of your winter blues, that's a hard time to start that habit. So, yes, it's not like it's bad advice. It's advice you need to start before winter happens if you're prone to winter blues. And if you're prone to depression, it's something you need to work on continually. And so it's not that it's bad advice. It's not helpful advice to somebody who's in the depths of their thing, because nothing's funny when you're at the depths of your depression. Even something you found funny normally is not funny. That's kind of the point of depression. It sucks all the joy out of everything. And so it's you've got to try to put that suit of armor, so to speak, on beforehand. It's not bad advice. It's just, telling someone that this right now is, I don't know how helpful it is. Okay. What we got next?
It says, brave your fears. Try for a week, make a commitment, do one thing a week or a day that makes you feel scared and takes you out of your comfort zone. Whether it's something small, like starting a conversation with a stranger, or big, like immigrating to another country, conquering your fears is guaranteed to put you in a positive mood.
No, it's not. Successfully conquering your fears may put you in a positive mood. But if you fall on your face, it's not going to put you in a positive mood. I don't necessarily disagree with the sentiment, though. I think maybe conquering your fears is the wrong way to go about it. Find something you can accomplish. Don't care what it is. Just clean your bathroom sink. Clean your freaking bathroom sink and pat yourself on the back for doing it. If it's getting up and taking a shower and then putting all your clothes away and doing your laundry, that's all you can manage for that day. And that's an exhausting accomplishment. Pat yourself on the back for the freaking accomplishment. Sometimes tackling your laundry can be a huge fear. When you're in kind of depression, you're not interpreting the world correctly. It's kind of the whole point. And so, you know, don't think of it as a fear. Just find something you can accomplish on a day-to-day basis, and you will eventually start accomplishing bigger and bigger things.
Making your bed in the morning is an easy one. It's a good start.
Well, I can remember back 15 years ago when I couldn't leave the house. And my accomplishment for the day, for the longest time, was going down to the store and getting our daily food for the kids. I would literally only buy enough food for a day, maybe two, so I would have to go back to the store. Part of it was you had teenage boys, and it's actually cheaper that way to buy food. But the second part of that is I forced myself to go to the store every day, every other day, and it wasn't conquering the fears. It wasn't conquering the anxiety disorder. It was making sure I would accomplish something that was difficult. And going to the grocery store isn't difficult for most people, but it was difficult for me. Walking outside the front door was difficult for me. And so, and eventually over time, I got to the point where last year I ran for public office. You can accomplish great things by just starting someplace. And it took, I don't know, it was a long time where that's all I could do. It's all I could manage. Eventually, I got strong to expand. And eventually you reach out to the dark and you find someone who's willing to go on your journey with you. Someone who has a similar journey to share. Unique, but similar enough where you can understand each other. And magic happens. Next thing you know, it's 10, 11 years later. And you're spreading your love and your experience and the wisdom with the world. The world can be a beautiful place, but it doesn't mean it's easy. We talk truth here, and we just do it with love and compassion. Life isn't easy. It's hard. And some people's lives are harder than others. That's just the way the world works. But you can still have love and compassion for everybody. All right, what do we got next?
Okay, the one that seems pretty obvious, get active. Okay, exercise your endorphins. Okay, vary that. And the next one too, watch what you eat.
Yeah, but when you say watch what you eat, I want to be careful. Watch what you need for yourself. Everybody's body chemistry is unique, and people who have depressions and anxiety disorders and mental health issues sometimes don't respond to food and nutrition emotionally the way other people do. So, just be careful with that. Yes, watch what you eat. Sometimes you have to mind your sugar. Don't drink too much caffeine, whatever it is, things that might bother other people. Or some people need caffeine, or you might get headaches or something. There's some people need the caffeine, right? So understand yourself, and don't be so focused on eating right that you make yourself miserable. You can't actually go too far. Just how about improve your diet rather than eating right? How about work on just eating a little bit better than you currently are? Be more mindful of what and how you eat. And I can't believe I'm saying that.
Okay.
I mean, I've done it. I'm just saying I can't believe I'm actually putting that out there as
Because you've recently done it.
yeah. Well, and there's the don't be sad thing. So look into light therapy. Yeah, it's not don't be sad. It's don't have light deprivation.
Okay, number 7, be selfless.
Yes, there's a flip coin to that I want to talk about. Is it's okay to be selfish?
Well, they're talking about trying to commit to a small act of kindness a day, such as listening to a friend's problem,
Uh-huh.
smiling at a stranger.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with all of it. I'm not disagreeing at all. I'm just saying I want to add that it's okay to be selfish as well. Because if you think about it, if you're being selfless to make yourself feel better, you're actually not being selfless, are you? You're doing it for yourself, not for them. So you're being selfish. It's okay. It's okay to help people and help yourself at the same time. There's nothing wrong with it. It's okay to be selfish. What it's not okay to do is hurt people while you're being selfish. If you're helping people while you're being selfish, it's perfectly fine. In fact, it's noble, in a way, because now you've actually made two people better, or not only have you made other people's lives better, you've made yourself better and your life better. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's what you can't be selfish is at the expense of somebody else. That's where selfishness. And so I just want to say it's okay to be selfish. It's okay to think of yourself because that's what you're actually doing. And we don't like to think of it that way. We like to think that we're being selfless. But if you're doing it to make yourself feel better, you're not being selfless. You're doing it to make yourself feel better. You just happen to be helping other people in the process, which is great. It's never wrong to help other people. I don't care why you're doing it. If you're genuinely helping other people, it's okay. Why would anybody complain? That damn person's helping other people just to make himself feel better. So I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying, accept it. I don't like the fact that we don't accept that we're being selfish in our selflessness. We're not being honest with ourselves. You know me. I don't like being dishonest with myself. Okay.
Okay, number 8, perk up your social life.
Okay.
That's hard to do in a depression.
It's hard. Well, yes, it is, but it's easier than we think. Calling up your closest friend and saying, "Hey, can we have lunch?" It's not a hard thing. It feels hard, and you worry about rejection, especially in the middle of depression. But it's not actually hard. It feels hard, and sometimes those are the same thing. But you can kind of push through it by saying it's not actually hard. It just feels hard. They care about me. They love me. Hell, they'd like lunch. Let's go have some lunch. Would he have lunch with me if I wasn't suffering from depression? Yeah. Well, then he'll have lunch with me now. You don't have to talk about your depression if you go out and have a conversation. You can still talk about sports, the weather, local planning commission screws up, whatever it is you guys normally talk about. You don't have to talk about your depression. Just have a normal day is sometimes the best thing you can do. Just find some way to have something akin to a normal day. And it's not going to feel normal. That's an unrealistic expectation. But you want to try to have a normal day. When you can look out of it and you say it didn't feel normal, but in retrospect, it was just a normal day. That's something to aim for. Okay.
Number 9, get your finances in order. Now, I don't know how this is going to beat the blues, but they suggest, that part of the reason for the blues with some people is because of the finances are wrecked following Christmas. So take the time to sit down, stop avoiding it, and set up your budgets for the next few months or so you feel like you've taken some control.
Yeah, I can see that if finances are something that is weighing heavily on you, then I can see how that would make sense. So that's I'm okay with that one. I mean, I'm not. If for most people who suffer from the winter blues, it's a seasonal condition, so it's that's kind of a situational thing. But if that's your situation, and your credit card bills and all that is weighing heavily in your head, then cleaning up your as best you can, taking control of it, at least feeling like you did anyway.
Really? Yeah.
Even if you can't, even if it's not really, even if it's all kind of made up, at least it feels like you've accomplished something. And again, getting through depression, feeling like you've accomplished something you can accomplish, something you've gotten through is as big of a win is a win. That's what you want. You want to stack with however many wins you can. Don't care how small of a win it is. A win is a win. Win. Scores are irrelevant. It's a win. Opponents are relevant. It's a win. Start chucking these suckers up. All right, was that all of it? Or
The last one was ringing changes. So they say, well, if you're really the thought of going back to your regular routine is really just get you in the grips of it, maybe it's a sign you need to make some changes in your life.
Yeah, and now is the time of year to contemplate that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is. Or if not, maybe it's maybe it's time for you to figure out, is this a situational thing? The job, just finances, health stresses, whatever it is, or is this a yearly condition? Do you suffer from the winter blues? It's a real thing. It's a real medical thing. Yeah. Okay. All right. Lovey's going to take a break, and so am I today. So we'll be right back. Okay, we'll be back in a second. Just give me a minute. Not the greatest time for science. It's like, hey, release some of that Yeah, no, it feels better, but it's like I'm like trying to go. How do I not have snot dripping out my nose? Well, yeah, it's just like that. Yeah. All right, we are almost back. All right. Yeah. Okay. It says our connection is being wonky again, but it's holding. So, all right. Okay. And we are back from Lubby's quick break. Now, did you want to quickly cover that last topic?
I'll quickly cover. They're on our website, 50 ideas to celebrate the days of Christmas. I did a little research into
The
this.
12 days of Christmas.
The 12 days of Christmas. 50 ideas to celebrate the 12 days of Christmas. What did I say?
You just forgot the 12 days.
Oh, okay. And this seems to be a largely Catholic tradition. It seems to be religious in nature, in origin, and in the 50 ideas, there's a lot of religious, a lot of spiritual. I like the idea of making oh, what did they call them? They called them blessing bags to keep in the car for someone in need. There's a lot of church activities, a lot of family activities. So good ideas in there.
Yeah, it's
But it starts, the 12 days of Christmas start on Christmas Day.
yeah. So they do it instead of like the Advent calendar, which leads up to Christmas. It's kind of the opposite. It's after Christmas until like the 5th of January or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not overly religious, so I can't speak a whole lot to the religious aspects of this, but it seems to me that it preaches pretty much everything that all religions kind of preach at some point. Family, friends, understanding, empathy, caring for your community, and kind of expressing that. And while it's maybe it's considering your community as your church community, as your religious community, yeah, you can do it with any community you want. And what I find interesting is how all these various traditions can coexist with each other. And while there's some friction on the edges, it's political. If you get into the average person's lives, there's no friction here. The average people, are perfectly happy with everybody believing and practicing what they want. At least here in the United States. The average people don't care what you're. They're really
Well, they're
loud.
zealots.
And they're really loud. And they seem to and because everybody else is like, not loud over it, it gets overheard. But, for most of us, the holiday seasons are about spreading love and recognizing the role friends and family play in our lives and the importance of that. I think that's, if we could take one thing away from these holiday seasons and kind of the world as it exists in the last, 2 years or so, yeah, those connections are more important than ever. So, yeah, contemplate that as we get into the new year. It's something to contemplate that as we think about the last year and as you plan for the next 12 months. Okay, so on to our standard questions. Here we go.
Okay, first question. I slipped and told my kid I paid for a toy that Santa brought. What do I do now?
Well, there's a couple of things. If your child is young, you can just say you got confused. Say you got confused. And for 6, get away with it. If they're older, then it's time to have the real conversation. It's got to happen at some point. And you just explain that anybody celebrates Christmas out of love. Santa doesn't have to be a jolly fat guy from the North Pole. It doesn't exist. There's no jolly fat guy on the North Pole. He's a symbol of all of us. Everybody who freely gives of what they want. That's what you tell them. You get to let them in on the secret that you get to be Santa too.
That's what we do in our family. It's rejoiced upon.
That's actually a more beautiful thing.
Yes.
So, it depends upon their age, where they are. If they're young enough, they're gullible and you can kind of get around it. But if they're old enough or not gullible, you're just going to have to, it's time to pull the Band-Aid off and tell them that Santa exists here. That's where Santa exists. The jolly fat man in the North Pole is a symbol of here. That's what it is. All right.
Why was the actual birthday of Jesus Christ not recorded in history?
Well, because most of history isn't recorded. And 2, at the time he was born, he didn't really know he was Jesus Christ. And by the way, he was recorded that he was born It's that the calendar dates have gotten all mixed up. And in the grand scheme of things, does it actually matter? Does it matter if he was born on December 25th or
In June,
or
like some people believe.
or June, or it's not relevant. None of that's actually relevant in the grand scheme of things. What's relevant is the stories and the messages and the lessons we learn. That's what's relevant. It's the story and the messages of the baby Jesus that are important. Not if he was born on December 25th of some year that wasn't even that year at that time, because the Gregorian calendar didn't come into existence for another couple thousand years. It's just, you're dealing with insane problems, okay? All right, not a couple thousand years, but 1,000 years later, whatever it was. It's, we back it's, it's, but at some point, those exact dates don't matter. Exact dates don't matter. It's the context that matters. And so don't worry about the exact date. It's not relevant. It's not really relevant to the discussion. And that's you're getting from a person who's not religious, for what it's worth.
Thank you. If a tenant's rent check was lost 3 weeks late, can I still kick on payment?
Why would you? They sent the postmark because if it lost in the mail, why wouldn't you call them up, say, hey, I haven't got rechecked. Hey, we mailed it. Okay, we'll cancel the check and send you another one. That's what a normal human being does. You don't look for reasons to kick people out. What I suspect is they want a reason to kick this person out because the place that has rent control, they're more concerned about that. That's what would be my guess. Pure unadulterated guess. I could be completely wrong. Maybe they're just bad tenants and they're looking for a reason to get them out. It's entirely possible as well. Or they're just a pinhead who has no empathy or compassion or even human decency. I mean, I suppose they're all
all are viable options.
They're all viable options, but none of them are good.
Just want to point that out.
No, you got to be a good human being and take the check because they paid you. And how about you stop making them send checks? You set up an online payment so they don't have to send you a freaking check every month. It's the year 2021, for God's sakes. Setting up a Stripe account or something takes nothing. For the love of God, stop making people send check. Get proactive keep on this kind of things. Anyway, all right.
It's 33 too old to have a baby. Does it mean you're an old mom? Oh, for heaven's sake.
Well, the short answer is no.
No.
Now, old is individual, right? For some people, for me, having a child after 30 I was feeling too old. But that was me. I had already had, 5 kids. I already had my fill. And so, I had my daughter at 30. It's enough. It was done. I'm too old for this now. But that was me, right? If you're 33 years old and you have the desire to have a child, you have a long, full life ahead of you. You've got 50 years of life,
Yes.
still ahead of you. And you've got another decade of birthing years without medical intervention. So, yeah, you're not too old.
Nature says you're not too old.
No. And we say you're not too old.
I can't think of any reason.
Well, I could if you have health problems or that kind of thing.
Okay,
lack of energy.
Well, yeah.
Because in my thing at 30 years, I didn't have the energy to have a baby at 30 years old. But that's me. because, but again, I was worn out. I had a lot of kids. So, my perspective is maybe a little different than someone who hasn't had any.
Yeah, see, I did. I was 34.
Yeah, see, I was 30 at the oldest. So, but no, you're not 33. The quick answer is no. The long answer is probably not. The extremely long answer is it depends on your own personal unique situation. There you go. we'll make it we'll make it easy. All right.
HOA, Homeowners Association, founded after I bought my house. Can I be forced to join?
Okay, we are not lawyers or real estate people, so actually make sure you ask someone who actually can give you actual advice. But it's my understanding, in most places, again, check the local laws in your state and areas, is no, you have grandfather rights because you didn't buy your house under that covenant, and so they can try to make you sign the agree to join, but you can't force you to do it because you didn't buy your house under that agreement, and so they're actually trying to. It's like trying to come in and tack a covenant onto your property agreement after you bought it without you agreeing to it. It's like Darth Vader. I've changed the agreement. Okay, you can't change the agreement. You're not allowed to change the agreement. Now, certain states, certain localities may have unique rules, and so you want to check your local area. But the quick and easy answer is probably not. You can actually tell them thumb their nose. We do here. We don't have a homeowners association here. They'd like one, but there's too many of us who go, yeah, we're not going to pay any attention to it, so you can, because we don't have to. so here where we live, they can't add a homeowners association like that after the fact. Maybe where you live, they can. But so check your local laws. Invest $50 for a lawyer to ask the question, to write you a letter and tell them to back the hell off. $100, whatever it's cost you. Get a lawyer to write you a letter, tell them to back off. That would be actually my suggestion. Talk to a lawyer, pay him a small fee to write a letter to the homeowners association and tell them to not bother you anymore. That's how I would solve it. All right.
You could also go to a paralegal. Save a. Okay, next question. Can an 11-year-old sleep shirtless?
Anybody can sleep shirtless. And there's nothing special about your old. I suppose maybe if you're thinking of who's starting to develop, she may feel self-consciously, assuming she's sleeping in her room with maybe her sisters or something. I don't see a problem. Why would it be a problem?
I can't think of why it'd be a problem.
Now I can understand why some people might think so. If you grew up in, say, a very Puritan house where modesty was a big deal, and shame of your body was kind of a thing, I could understand how you could feel that way. I can actually see how someone could get there, based upon their life experience.
Sure.
How they could think that way, but there's no realistic. I mean, unless maybe if it's an 11-year-old girl who's starting to develop and you're living in a situation where she has to share, a room with her brothers or something, or she sleeps in like a common room, because sometimes that happens in especially large families, and multi-generational households these days. It's happening more and more often. So there may be situations where prudence may be advised, but as a rule of thumb, there's no reason why you can't.
Okay. If your car is stolen and then you just so happen to stumble across it parked on the street, are you legally allowed to steal it back then and there without calling the police or anything in the USA?
Well, if you've reported your car stolen to the police and you take your car back, you should actually not take your car back. You should call the police, tell them you found it, so they can come out and process it properly, and then they'll give you back. And then they'll give you access to your car back. Ask them what to do with it. But you are not stealing your car back. It's your car. You can't steal your car. Just, I want to point that out. You've got a mindset problem right there. You can't steal your car. We have a comment from our favorite listener, my mother.
Okay, yes. Raising a teenager at the age of 50 is hard and exhausting, but not impossible and can be rewarding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a matter of your energy levels and your motivation levels, I suppose. I was too old, but that was again, I was done at 30. I had enough. I'd raised enough kids.
You had 5 children.
By 30, yeah. So we were done. It was, so I may not have had nothing that I was 30. I may have just been done and it happened that I was 30. Now 30 felt too old. So because I have too many kids. And I don't mean I have too many kids, but you know what I mean. It's a lot. Having to raise a bunch of kids, it's not a burden, but it is a weight to carry.
Yeah.
It is a weight to carry. I'm not going to say it was never a burden, but it is to claim it's not a weight is goofy. I never felt it was a burden, but to say it's not a weight is denying reality. And we don't deny reality. So, because it's exhausting. It can feel exhausting. Now, you look back, it was well worth it. Completely. Did we go blank again? Anyway, I'll check. I thought the screen flashed. Anyway, but it was well worth it. All right.
Next question. How do I say no without feeling bad, guilty, embarrassed, rude at the grocery store checkout register when they ask for a donation?
Well, apparently nothing, because you're feeling your emotions are not tied to what they're asking you. Your emotions are tied to you're feeling guilty because someone there's people in need, and you feel like you're rejecting them, even though you're really not. You probably give your time and money to other places. Just say no. Just say no, thank you.
Not today. I say not today.
I just say no, thank you. Just say no, thank you. But what you're doing is you're imposing your own internal feelings on the rest of the world.
Yeah.
It's not the external things. That's all from you. And so when you ask, how can you can't, because it's coming from inside of you. There's no simple answer. You're just going to have to be comfortable with what you do outside of that donation. Maybe what you're actually telling yourself is you feel that you should be doing more charity work, more, and you're not. And so that pang of guilt is poking you. Or you just have an anxiety disorder and don't like telling people no. Those are these answers that I can't give a specific answer. You have to spend some time in contemplation for yourselves and figure that one out. Okay.
What has been your biggest surprise while being married to someone?
You want this one?
Well, I'll go first.
Okay.
Well, something nobody talks about. You're married, it's been a couple of years, and he's sitting there, he's looking at you, and he's talking, and he's saying stupid stuff, and you look at him and you're like, who the hell are you? And what are you doing here? Why are you here? And they kind of feel like a stranger. And you and then he kind of gets scared, because you love them.
That's the scary part. That's the part. Do you want to talk about the part that marriage is that how much love can overcome, how much differences, and how much compromise love actually can bridge, how many gaps the love of somebody else can bridge. That was my surprise for me. It's because it can bridge a lot of gaps. Yeah. You compromise or you not even compromise is probably the wrong word. You find solutions to problems that you didn't think were there. And you only do it because you have no. Essentially, it's not that you don't have a choice; it's you have no choice, but you also want to. It's that unique combination. We're married. We've told each other we're not leaving, at least easily. So we got to figure out a way to get through this. And because you love somebody, you're gonna work a little harder to do that without causing damage, without causing emotional pain, at least in a healthy relationship. And so that's for me what the surprises is because people don't talk about the rewards of marriage. People talk about the complaints and the bad sides and the funny things and the goofy things. You go to any comedy show and people complain about their marriages and their wives, and they also point out some of the good spots, but it's not funny. you know, Talking about all the wonderful things, how your wife makes you feel, isn't funny. It doesn't make a good comedy show. So you highlight the other things, which is perfectly reasonable for a comedy show. But for the rest of us, we should probably talk about the parts of our relationships that are more rewarding. I'm not saying don't have fun with the stuff that's goofy. Have the stuff that's goofy, but be sure to highlight the other things. Spend some more time highlighting the other things. We like having fun at our own expense. It's kind of what we do, but we also take the time to what's the word I'm looking for? Nurture each other's emotional side.
Yes.
Yeah. So we strike that balance. We don't let each other's heads get so swelled. All right, what do we got?
Why is it that as I get 12, I care much less about baking and decorating with my mother? Well, my dear, you're starting to have your own social circle and you want to do things with them.
Yeah, your relationship with your parents is going to start to evolve, and it's going to evolve rapidly. And so what I like is that you're mindful of it already. You're concerned about that you're losing your relationship with your mother. You're not so much concerned about that you're not interested in baking, but it seems to me that you are concerned that you're going to lose some relationship with your mother. But there's an opportunity there to find something else.
Yes, and you will.
You and maybe have a conversation with your mother. It's an opportunity for you to keep lines of communication open, to learn how to talk to each other productively. Look at these things as opportunities. Childhood is practice for adulthood. Practice those adulthood skills. I love the fact that you're already contemplating this. It's a wonderful sign. You know, it really is. Okay.
Personality disorder, bipolar disorder, and extreme anxiety. I'm so tired of taking all that medicine with its side effects. What can I do?
Oh, you specifically have experience with this. You end up with 8, 9 different medications or something, and you end up taking medications to deal with the side effects of medications, and then medications to deal with the side effects of the medications that deal with the side effects, and it's like exploding your head.
It takes time to work through this, and what's crucial is a doctor who will listen to you. But I feel your pain. I've had to go into doctor's offices with the medication, put it down on the desk, and say, I'm not taking this anymore. Find me something else. I was done. They laughed at me, but they did what I told them to.
Yeah. Well, we've also had times where you had to go into the hospital. The last time you were in the hospital was to change your medication. It was, if memory serves, or because of a medication change. And it was finding less medications to accomplish the same goal is actually what we settled on, because you were taking so many medications that were counteracting each other. And it was insane. It was literally insane. And you actually had to go into the hospital so you could get off the medication, so you could figure out what freaking medications you should be on.
I was on 9 and I ended up now with 2.
Yeah, and you actually had to go into the hospital to
Yes, I
do
did.
that process.
Yes, I did.
And so it's not necessarily easy, but if you want a successful result, sometimes you have to do drastic measures, and so there's solutions there. Take your pills in and say we have to find something different. We have to find a new solution, and that solution may require you having more intensive care while you work through that.
And this is going to take some time.
Yeah, medication changes take a year to settle out if you're lucky.
Yeah.
If to truly know if it works. If you're lucky, you can find out if it's going in the right direction after a couple months. But it takes a year before you can truly settle in.
And I have had changes in my metabolism as I've grown older, and medications don't work so well, and then I have to find new ones.
Yeah, or you can become tolerant to the medication.
So this process is an ongoing thing in my life.
Yeah, and you're going to have to become comfortable with that this is not something you get to treat and forget. It's not one of those things. And we know that sucks, but sometimes you just have to be honest with yourself and accept it. Okay. Over medicating people, as we stop bouncing in and out, over medicating people is a serious problem, and you can work your way through it. All right, we got one more.
You find a new job, so you give your employer 2 weeks' notice. Your boss then gets angry with you. You are quitting and tells you not to come back in anymore. How should you respond to your boss? Well, my friend, if they don't want you on the premises, you can't, make yourself be there.
Yeah. Well, lots of getting angry is inappropriate. Now, lots of places, for whatever reason, don't want people to be there after they've decided they're quitting. And so, so they'll pay you. I actually had places that pay you for the 2 weeks. See you later. You essentially get a paid 2-week vacation. It's because you get short-timers disease. And a lot of people worry about things like if you're a disgruntled employee, you can worry about security and sabotage, that kind of thing. And if your employer gets angry at you, maybe there's some cause for them to concern about that, if not with you, with other people. So, and so you get kind of rolled up into that, because that is not an appropriate response. Getting angry is not an appropriate response. People change jobs all the freaking time. When you work for somebody, it's not a lifetime contract. Hey, I agree to work with you until I have a better situation. That's literally an employment contract for most employment contracts, unless you have like a 2-year contract agreement, like an athlete or something. For average employment contract is an at-will contract, and it works in your favor as well. You don't get stuck working for somebody you don't want to work with. This at-will thing, it works in your favor as well. And so, for me, you don't respond at all. Just you're responding to it. There's no point in it. Make sure they paid you everything you're owed and move on, because you were doing that anyway. Well, that's why I didn't want to work there. Move on. That's the attitude I would try to have. Don't let them screw you over with pay or anything like that. But as the general attitude to have is, that's why I don't want to work there. You clearly made the right decision. And with that, we are out of time, and we hopefully that we didn't drop out too much tonight. I know we dropped out a couple times, but I think we survived. And we'll see what we can do about that next week. For me and Lubby, we want to thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us on this special secondary night. I don't know. And we will see you next week, whether it's New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, our normal show. We don't know yet, but we will let you. For me and Lubby. Wait. I need my button pusher clicker thingy from from me and Lovey. Please remember to love everybody.
Good night.